Hey there, everybody. Good morning. Look at that. It's a few minutes after 7 on Sunday, March the 22nd. Special daily briefing edition of 7 Minutes in the Morning is coming up right after this. Oh, by the way, lots of good news today, so you want to stay tuned for this one.
This is 7 Minutes in the Morning, where 5 days a week you get tips and hacks dedicated to helping business owners and leaders just like you find and break through the one thing that is preventing your success. And now, here's the host of 7 Minutes in the Morning and your results coach, Thom Rigsby.
Hey there, everybody. Good morning and welcome. My name is Thom, and this is a special edition of 7 Minutes in the Morning. We've been calling these the daily briefs this week. We're going to keep doing them next week, too. And the intro's a little bit dated because we're doing them 7 days a week through this outbreak. But, that's okay because there's lots of good news to cover today. So much, in fact, I just want to jump right into it. As we have been doing, I'm going to start with the numbers. Oh, before I get to that, if you're new here, welcome. Thank you very much. Glad that you're here. Be sure and share this with every business owner that you know, whether they're in Huntsville, in Alabama, the United States, or around the world. We have folks joining from all over the world to watch, and you'll see some of that as we get through some of the numbers today, too. So, kind of no matter where you are, where they are, get them to connect here, because we're all in this thing together. All right, and when you get here, do as Catherine has done already. Leave a comment, say hi, hello, good morning, whatever sounds good to you. I like to have, this is kind of serious business that we're dealing with. Hang on one second. I like to have fun. So these shows, typically these shows are pretty fun. I like to keep them light and give you something that is useful, not just stuff that feels bad. So, in fact, today, in that vein, instead of starting with the numbers, I'm going to start with a quote of the day today. Confidence comes not from always being right, but from not fearing to be wrong. Confidence doesn't mean that you're always right. It just means that you don't worry as much about the consequences of being wrong. It's not that you disregard them. We just mitigate them, right? That's what we're here to do. Mitigate those impacts and try and survive. First, get to the inflection point, which I think we're close to, and then number 2, thrive coming out the other side of this. All right, to the numbers, the boring part. Total number of cases up in the U.S., up again. Yes, we know that. 4,000 new cases. Here's the fantastic news. The rate of growth, this is the 4th day in a row. I think it's 4th day in a row that the rate of growth numbers have gone down. That's very good news. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th day in a row that the rate of growth numbers have gone down. And yesterday they dipped below 1. Now, why is that important? We've talked a lot about how this thing is going to play out on a logistics curve. It can't grow exponentially forever because there's just not that many people. At some point, it's going to be limited, and that exponential growth has to flatten out. Well, the inflection point is where it begins to flatten out, and we identify that inflection point by that rate of growth number dropping below 1, and it's done that. That's only one day. I've told you all week. It's got to be 3 days in a row for me to call it. But that's 1, right? That's 1. All right, I want to get back over and show you some other numbers just for some context. We talk about, we go over these numbers here, for the states every day. I wanted to show you some other numbers here for context. This is a comparison of cases across 5 different countries, normalized for population, and this really illustrates why Italy is in such trouble right now. We take the total number of cases and divide it by the population to get this number, right? Italy has 400 cases per million citizens, residents. 400 cases per million, CPM, cases per million of residents, compared to China that only has 58. So, and, you know, if you take a look at, you know, we were talking about this logistic curve a minute ago. Hey, Dustin, this yellow line represents South Korea. It's a great example of how that logistics curve is going to look, right, where there's growth, and then it begins to flatten out right here. The green line represents China. It's already flat because they started a lot earlier than we did. Down here is the U.S. and U.K., and this blue line that's still growing is Italy. So Italy's in a lot of trouble. We still don't know what's going to happen there. But I just wanted to share that with you for a little bit of context. You know, the numbers that you hear, if you listen to any of the news, the media, you read anything, the numbers I always want to talk about is total number of infections, total number of infections. Well, look, we don't know what that number is. We may never know what that number is because everybody's not going to be able to be tested. But we can look at these diagnosed cases of people that wind up in the hospital and start looking at this rate of growth number. Keep looking at this rate of growth number for some encouragement that we're getting over the hump. I think we're really close. The number's been going down for 5 days. It's finally dipped below 1. That's a very good sign. We need a couple of more days of data to know for sure, but I think we're at the inflection point. Second piece of good news, especially for, second piece of good news, I get coffee. Third piece of good news, especially for those business owners in Alabama, the whole state now has been declared impacted by the COVID-19 virus. So everyone in the state is every business owner in the state is able to apply for those disaster assistance loans from the SBA. Again, depending on who you listen to, depending on where you go to get your information, there's a lot of different opinions about these. And obviously I have my opinion, and my opinion taints everything that we talk about here. Here's what I want you to do, though. And if you've watched or listened or subscribed to me for any period of time, you know that my goal is to equip you to make good decisions. I'm not here to tell you what to do, even for my paid coaching clients. I don't always. I try to avoid telling them what to do. I want to help them figure out what they should do, because I'm not always going to be there. It's a lot like being a parent, right? Our job as parents is to help the kids be able to make good decisions when we're not around. I want to help you be able to make these good decisions. I've done the study, I've studied, I've done the research, made all these charts and graphs so that you can have the information to make a good decision. All right? Now, here's my observation on these SBA loans. There's plenty of people that are going to tell you, you will begin to hear about, oh, those are bad, don't do those. Anything taken out of context can be made to look really good or really bad. We have to take this whole thing into context. And I think there's a three-legged stool at play here. The first leg is this legislation that passed early last week now, about the Families First legislation, the paid sick leave, the FMLA adjustments, all of those things. The new requirements have been placed on employers to help their employees get through this outbreak. The second leg of this stool are these SBA funds that are being made available to help pay for these mandates, right? Now, there's also the third leg is some additional legislation going through Congress. One piece of that will make some direct payments to employers to help cover some of those costs. But the other big part of that, at least this is what's being debated at the moment, are these payments to individuals. All three of these things have to work together. They're not independent of one another, right? So if you just take the Families First legislation and forget everything else, well, that's going to put a lot of businesses out of business. I can't afford to pay my employees when I don't have customers coming in. So that's where the second leg comes in, and that helps the business stay afloat. But after we get over this inflection point, we get over the hump, the third piece has to kick in here, which is commerce has to come back, right? We're working really hard right now to keep people spending money. So that money is moving around. Money has to move in order for commerce to occur. And this direct injection of spendable money into the hands of families is what's going to help that happen. Goldman Sachs, hey, sorry about that, Keith. 8 minutes in. Well, that's too bad. I'm going to hop over. I'll show you the chart again before we go that I showed with some UK numbers on it. The point here being, right, that all of these things have to work together. We are part of a system, right? So I want you to take all this information, you look at it from, the perspective of distance, right? We're creating some distance between ourselves and the day-to-day here. With that distance, what does all this mean? I also want you to take this into the context of time, right? Economies cycle, right? There's always ups and downs. So don't let anybody tell you that, will this cause a recession? Almost guaranteed. Was there one on the way anyway? Definitely guaranteed. The only thing we didn't know was when, right? Now we have a pretty good idea when. Now, I was about to get in the Goldman Sachs numbers. They've projected for the rest of this year, second quarter is going to be down 24% GDP annualized. But the third quarter is going to be plus 12%. That's a 36-point swing in 3 months. So clearly their projections are that as soon as we're over the hump, we're going to get back to work, right? We're going to get back to spending. Folks are going to get back to doing what they do. So take all of this into consideration as you're making your decisions. Starting tomorrow, we're going to start having tomorrow we'll probably talk about some marketing topics. We might even get a webinar, longer form out today. While we've kind of backed off of work a little bit today, and we can digest some of it. But beginning next week, we're really going to talk about recovery strategies and what we're doing post-inflection, because I think that's coming. Now, the other thing to bear in mind, the mathematical inflection point is only one element of this. We've got some legislative and administrative limits on us also. Like, for example, here in Alabama, dining rooms and restaurants are closed until April the 5th. So we can't really get back to work until the 5th at the earliest unless they lift that restriction. So that we're going to have to start doing some planning on how this recovery is going to begin to work for us. But it is going to work. We are going to get through it. Things are going to be okay. All right, Keith, for your benefit, I'm going to share this chart one more time. And it's really hard to see the UK numbers down here. They're the little orange line by the red line. This is a comparison of cases per million. We spent a lot of time on this chart talking about how bad Italy is. They're experiencing 400 cases per million in population. UK is only slightly higher than the U.S. at 75. We're at 73, and then China. Hard to get reliable data out of China, but China's number is 58. The encouraging thing to me, you can see the logistic curve here in the South Korean number rather, and we can see a flattening here of the U.S. and the UK number. So all things taken together, I think that's really good news for us, that we're beginning to see the top of the hump. Now, because of all these things we've taken, I think the hump's going to be, pretty flat for a while before it begins to trail off. But all of this is good news. So it's Good News Sunday. I'm going to end with that. And just a quick reminder, our quote of the day, because it's such a good one today. Confidence comes not from being right, but from not fearing being wrong. We don't always know we're going to make the right decision. We just make the best decision we can with the information we have at the moment. That's what we're trying to do here, is help give you the information, help walk you through some of the planning steps. I started counting up the other day. If you count .com, housing crisis, 9/11, that's at least 3 major events that I've been working through, not including the minor events, the weather-related hurricanes, tornadoes, ice storms, snowstorms. All of these things have an impact, and the collective experience of those of us that are working together, that's what's going to get everybody through all of this. All right, so thank you all for being here. Remember, if you are here, if you're getting value from our time together every day, I would appreciate the heart, stars, thumbs up, likes. Those are always nice to see as they float by. If you have questions or comments, leave those in the comments. I'll start working those as soon as the video is done here. And don't forget to share with every business owner that you know, because we are all in this together. I'll be back again tomorrow morning with another daily briefing, 7 o'clock right here. So go ahead and set your timer. Just be in the group, and it should start all on its own. All right, you guys take care. Be safe. Wash your hands. And enjoy your Sunday. It's a good news Sunday. Take care.